After joining an elite Japanese training camp deep in the mountains, I discovered a brutal marathon training system I've never seen before in the West. Could this be the secret behind Japan's dominance over us? With a national record of 2:04 and more sub-2:10 marathoners than every non-African country combined, Japan is well and truly destroying us. Europeans, Americans, Aussies, you name it, the depth over here puts us all to shame. Well, now I'm about to show you why. So we're just wrapping up the first leg of this altitude stint. In the last video, you see I was in Fujimi in Nagano Prefecture, up in the mountains. Nice bit of altitude, some sweet air here, and I'm absolutely loving being out of Tokyo. And now we're gonna head on to the next spot. So what they tend to do in Japan is bounce between a whole load of different places when they're going on these training camps. And we were at this first place for only about 4 days or so, but we hit 3 sessions during that time. So it was a heavy, heavy training block. And compared to the normal training that I'm doing around Yogi Park, you know, on that dead flat loop, just easy running on the road, all 3 of these sessions were on a 1K cross-country loop. And this one was brutal, like non-stop up and down, and we were dropping intervals the first time, then we did a long sort of steady run, and then more of a tempo effort this morning. All of them just absolute quad busters. The Thunder thighs have taken a pounding, but I reckon this is such good strength training, like that building phase. Because it's kind of interesting how they do summer training here, so it's completely different to abroad. It's basically the opposite. You know how overseas, like Europe, America, Australia, in the summer you're focusing on track stuff, speed work, so you're getting those shorter training sessions in. But here it's all about the huge volume, smacking your highest training months and slowing the paces right down to then focus on strength building, using that as a huge base to then help you later on in the year when you attack those half marathons and marathons. And I think it's basically because it's so hot here. So they were saying that they kind of take a break in the summer. So Japan's like a whole different level. You literally cannot do the track. It's just fatal. Like this time of year, back in Tokyo or any of the sort of big cities like sea level, it's going to be 35 degrees during the day, 90% humidity. It's an absolute death zone. So they pretty much take a break from the track in the summer, and then they pick it up again in like November, December, and then hit some quick 5Ks, 10Ks, almost in the winter time. So it's completely different to back home. So right now it's just all about hitting those long, grindy sessions, the marathon monk style, which obviously I can get behind. So we said sayonara to the Fujimi crib, but this was just a little taster, and we'll be back there for a longer stint at the end of this altitude block. But it was onwards with the Suzuki team who've let me tag along with them and jump in their training, which has been class. Going from endless solo sessions to having a bunch of 2:10 marathoners to slog round these with, it's been an absolute game changer. I can notice some huge improvements in fitness already, and we're only just getting started. So we've successfully arrived at the next leg of the altitude tour, and this one's built around this massive lake. So if I flip you around here, take a look at that beauty. And it's got this running track that runs the whole way around the outside. It's actually tartan, so it's basically like a big running track. I think it's 3.8K in total. So quality for long runs and stuff. And it's also nice to just change up the scene, but I think this area is a bit more of like a holiday resort, so it's a little bit more touristy. Still Japanese tourists. I'm obviously the one strange white guy still knocking about, but it's not quite as isolated as Fujimi, the last place that was proper mountain wilderness. But there should still be plenty of good running opportunities around here, so I have to check out the local area. Staying in this little hotel a bit up there in the mountains, like in the forest. So I'm sticking to the marathon monk vibe, but yeah, I'm just buzzing to check out a new place. So you might as well call me Mr. Worldwide at this point, because it's non-stop travel and the RTJ Shinkansen is showing no signs of slowing down. Luckily though, I've got one trusty sidekick that's able to keep up, and that's the all-in-one financial super app, Revolut, who I've partnered up with for a Godzilla-sized giveaway. So you can get £20 plus the chance to win an entry to this year's Berlin Marathon and £1,000 when you sign up to Revolut using my link and use your card. I've actually been using Revolut myself since 2019, so I really am an OG fanboy. When I'm traveling abroad and spending money, it makes everything so smooth thanks to their banging exchange rates. In the app, I've got accounts for pounds, yen, dollars, and can switch between them in seconds. I actually use it so much that I upgraded to the metal plan, which means I can exchange unlimited amounts of money at a quality great. And I'm not gonna lie, the best part about metal is that you get this absolute weapon of a card. So even when I was a dead broke student, I could still look like a certified baller when buying my £1 microwave rice. But if you are one of the ones currently missing out, then this offer is pretty unbeatable. So good, in fact, I have to say it again. They'll give you £20 and you've got the chance to run Berlin, a marathon major, and get £1,000 of sweet moolah when you sign up to Revolut through my link and use your card. So I'll be putting Revolut to use again now that I've escaped Tokyo and headed here to Shirakabako. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not exactly chilly here. I think it's still getting up to about 30 degrees in the day, which is mad. This is probably the coldest spot in Japan right now. Like in terms of altitude, it doesn't get much higher in Japan than this, unless you're literally camping on top of Mount Fuji. But yeah, even so, whew, it's pretty toasty out here. But there was work to be done, aka pavements to be pounded. So time to slap on that factor 50 and go to war in the land of the rising sun. Oh geez, I'm bloody knackered. Had to get up at something like 4:30 today. No idea why we're training so early, but yeah, we're getting out for this long hill, they call it. And by long, geez, they weren't joking. 14K, 1 hour, 700 meters of non-stop elevation gain, literally climbing up a bloody mountain. It sounds absolutely brutal. So yeah, we'll find out how that one goes, but it's the day after that 12K hilly tempo and we're hitting now another hard session. So those back-to-back days, but oh yes, look at that morning view. Yes, I could get used to that. Oh, you're gonna have to drag me back to Tokyo at the end of this camp. But as for the long hill sesh, yep, just about as excruciatingly painful as expected. I tried keeping up with my bro, Kiriyama, aka the mountain god, who I introduced in the last video. But on these hilly courses, he's an absolute machine and always seems to drop everyone else in the group. I clung on just until the final minute or so before he broke me too. But I reached the summit, thunder thighs just about still intact, with a quality sesh under my belt. Sign me up for UTMB. Oh man, the training today, absolutely brutal. I reckon that might have been the hardest session we've done so far. Just 14K non-stop climbing. Obviously I'm carrying probably about 10, 20 kg extra compared to these boys. So it feels like, I'm just fighting gravity up the hills. Especially when it hits the steep bits, I'm absolutely swimming. Just can feel the thunder thighs weighing me down right there, but got it done. Like, that's good training. It simulates a marathon so well, but every day is just brutal hills pretty much. It's purely just strength building that huge, powerful base. But just when you think the session is over, the warm down hits just as hard. And the hardest thing about here is that I'm no longer staying with the team, so they're in this fancy hotel, but there was no rooms left because I only joined this last minute. Like before, I was just staying in their house like they actually owned. But yeah, to get there, I've got to climb up this massive hill. At the end of training like today, oh man, this is a killer. Also up where I'm staying, in this little forest area, there's no restaurants or shops or anything. And I'll have to stock up at the local konbini, like the little convenience store. Yeah, I got far too used to the 3 meals a day catered style in the old house. And I had a lot of people commenting and asking me to talk more about the Japanese athlete diets, like how much they eat, what kind of foods, how many calories, all that stuff. Well, I'm thinking of doing a whole video about that topic when I'm back at the house in Fujimi, so I could show you a full day of Scran on camp. Also, when I'm back there living with the team again, it'll be much easier to film some little interviews and stuff with them. And cheers to all you guys that have sent in questions for me to ask for the team. There's loads of different topics, interesting ones that I can hit them with. And I've been chatting with the guys about a lot of those topics already, but we can explore them in a bit more detail in some videos soon. Stuff like recovery in between sessions, are they too jumping in the old compression boots, the space boots for recovery? Stuff like that we can find out. But I don't want to be too intrusive with filming stuff. I'd rather like get to know people naturally off camera, and then I can feed back to you guys what I've learned from the team. But obviously they're legends for allowing me in on this camp, so I don't want to push my luck too much with the YouTube side of things. So if you're enjoying the video so far, then consider hitting that little subscribe button to catch all the juicy future episodes. So for me on this training camp, my daily lifestyle actually doesn't change too much. It's a pretty standard morning and afternoon running, and then in between that I'm just on my YouTube grind, like planning videos, filming, editing. I'm actually just biking over now to a cafe, so just like I do in Tokyo, just standard business as usual. But for the boys on the Suzuki team, this is just full on chill mode, pro runner lifestyle. So usually they'd be working, I think from about 9 to 2 roughly. So kind of part-time, like semi-pro runners. But then now they get to have absolutely no work. In between running, they're just sleeping, getting those naps in, eating. That's pretty much it. Eat, sleep, run, repeat. But it's not just any old running plan. This is where the secret of their training method comes in. It's still just early days, but I've never seen anything like this before. Now you're gonna have to excuse the background noise because those cicadas are a bloody nightmare in summer. But at least it adds to that natural aesthetic. That's been 5 days on camp and we've hit 4 sessions. Now, this is mad, this is unheard of, and this is what they call set training. So I mentioned it in the last video that it was the first time I'd heard about this, because in the West, we always think of it as you do your hard day, then you have an easy day. You almost always have a recovery day in between your sessions. Even the Norwegian style, like double threshold days or the Canova special block, those are still just one hard day of running, sandwiched between usually 2 easy days. So this idea of set training is definitely something completely different entirely. But here, they basically stack back-to-back days. So we've done 2 sets of them now, and all of them have included hills. So the thunder thighs have been absolutely banged up. 10 times 1K intervals to start with. Then straight after, the next day, we had a 22K hilly cross-country tempo. Then you had your recovery day, and then it was another set training. This time a bit quicker, 12K at sort of threshold, and then the 14K this morning. So I was asking the boys a little bit more about this, and apparently when they're not in training camp, so back in the city when they're working at the company kind of part-time, so back then they don't do this set training, I guess because it's just so brutal in terms of recovery. You pretty much need to just be like eating, sleeping, running. You can't try to be working on top of that or it would just kill you. So it's a special little training camp treat. But I do find this very interesting because it's almost anti everything we're told in the West, that you have your hard day and then you recover. Like that's the only way you're going to be able to hit the sessions. But here they go for a complete opposite approach. It's basically build up as much fatigue as possible, like kill your body, try and replicate the marathon. And it suddenly made me remember Takeshi So's training. So you know, before Tokyo Marathon, I was following that old school legend, his plan, 209 runner from way back in the sort of 70s, 80s. And I looked at his training diary and basically copied it exactly, like all the same sessions, adjusted the paces a tiny bit to match my 212 target for Tokyo. But he was basically my unofficial coach. However, there was one thing that I didn't do, and that was the old set training. So I saw in his diary maybe 3 back-to-back hard days in a row, and then he'd have like 4 days of jogging, and I didn't get this at all. I was thinking this must be some mistake. It just made no sense to me. So I spread out my days way more like normal, like we do back home in the West. And I do a standard something like intervals on Tuesday, marathon type session Friday, longer on Sunday, more your standard plan. But maybe because of that, I was missing out on this juicy little secret, the set training model. And potentially that's why I hit the wall in the final 10K Tokyo. I'd clearly been training far too smart and just needed to train a little bit harder. Now I was just wrapping up this little bit of filming and I suddenly thought, hang on, I've actually been doing a form of set training anyway, without even realizing it for the last 2 or 3 months. So after Tokyo, one of the things I've started implementing is these fatigue intervals. So what I've been doing is on Wednesday, I'll do my standard like 10K or half marathon pace type intervals, stuff like 1K reps, 2K reps, 5K reps, you know, that kind of thing. And then instead of just having a chill day on Thursday, the day after, I'll do my medium long run. So I'll build up a good bit of fatigue, maybe 30K or so. And then at the end of it, I'm ripping some flat out reps, usually 3 times 1K. And I was doing it to try and work on that top end speed, just get the old fast twitch fibers or the singular fast twitch fiber, get that one firing. I was so sick of getting out kicked in races. And I did feel like recently it's been working. I've been getting my speed to sort of level up gradually. But then that right there, my Wednesday then Thursday, is actually a quality little bit of set training itself. And I've found some massive benefits from it. Onto the fartlek sesh, which is strangely so un-Japanese. Most of you watching will probably see this as a classic session, but since moving here, I've not done a single fartlek, and no runner in Tokyo would ever dream of it. So it's actually pretty unique what the Suzuki team are doing. Right, I just finished up with the fartlek. It was 20 by, as soon as I YouTube in the thumb. Yeah, 20 by 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and then 10 by 30 seconds on, 1 minute off. Compared to the Fujimi fartlek though, whew, this wasn't too bad, to be fair. This felt pretty calm. Like last time, my legs were absolutely banged up, battered, but this was alright. It was pretty flat little trail course. fartlek training though. It's like European style. Yeah, I'm very surprised that they're doing this out here in Japan. I've never seen any other teams do it, but yeah, they're mixing up at Suzuki. I like it though, yeah, it's properly a throwback to almost like under 13s, like under 15s. Training back in the UK, Bedford and County, shout out. But yeah, it was that kind of style today. Good fun. And usually I'll be dreading those lonely solo sessions, but it's an absolute breeze when you're running with a squad. And I've had people asking me, have I joined this team permanently? So unfortunately, this is just a temporary setup for the summer. The Suzuki team kindly invited me along to their training camp, but it's not like I'm an official member or anything yet. It's so hard to try and join these teams. So that's what I'm still working on at the moment. And that's why hopefully I'm gonna be joining a couple other teams throughout this summer to maybe try out with them and see whether they'll let me join full term. Because I think from training with the Suzuki guys, I've clearly shown I can hang with them and that level's perfect. That's what's gonna drag me along. But I think from the training already with these guys, I just realized how important it is having a team. Like it's so easy in training. I just don't have to put in any effort to hit the paces that I would solo. And I remember the exact same happened when I joined Team MK. So when I moved to Tokyo, I reckon I was in around 225 shape. And within a couple months, I was probably down to like 217, 215 marathon shape, just from being one of the slowest in the group. And then every week moving through and through and through. I think I respond so well to a team, but that is the hardest thing in Japan. Talked about it in other videos, but that is what I'm working on. Any Jitsu Godan runners, any Japanese runners, you see this video, get me involved, hit me up. Think of it as an investment. You've got an Olympic potential. LA 2028, baby, let's go. Well, I hope you're enjoying this summer training series so far as I attempt to slowly infiltrate the Japanese running scene, and there's plenty more where that came from. But for now, this has been Jake with Run to Japan. I'll see you in the next one. Remember, train harder, not smarter. Hush.